Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Final Fantasy Brave Exvius. My name is Mars, and today we're going to rank all of the healers that we have in the global version of the game. This is very exciting and very timely because the idea behind this is we're going to help people make the decision on their healer investments. Because there are a lot to choose from. You may already have a 7-star healer of your own, and this will help you kind of get an idea of which units may be the most worth it for you to invest in. So this video guide is going to go over the 7-star healers only. We're not going to be talking about 6-star max or any other healers. This is 7-star only simply because we want to talk about their influence in the game, which one is most worth it for you to invest in, and which one can have the biggest impact on your team. So, there are a lot of units out there who can do healing abilities, and I went strictly for units that follow the healer designation, like they are healers, not they can heal, like they have a healing spell or they have the ability to heal people, but I'm looking for units that can pretty easily top off 7-star tanks if they're built without evasion. So the idea is that you want them to be able to heal close to 20,000 HP, and this is who we got. And we also have Folka, and we'll talk about her after these. But I've kind of ranked them according to how well they do their job as a healer and how well they do the other stuff that is in their kits at the same time. So Rem and Yuna are the two that I would probably assess at the low end of things as far as healing is concerned, and that's simply because the two of them pair damage with healing, which are two mutually exclusive perks, meaning that if you are doing damage with Rem, you are not healing, and the same goes for Yuna. Rem does offer a fair amount of utility in her kit, most notably her cooldown skill, Undying Aspiration, grants an AoE re-raise on the party while buffing a defense and spirit. So this is actually a really nice skill to have from a utility perspective, but I do have to say one of the biggest disappointments with Rem's 7-star kit is that she's unable to dual cast re-raise on top of any of her other spells. So for me, that's kind of a limiting factor in the healer role. Either you're going to get HP restore or something else. There's pretty much no way to get anything else from her. So that being said, she's a very competent damage dealer. She does a good amount of damage both with chaining and finishing. She can chain with Tornado and Quake right here, and then she can finish with Boomerang Dagger, or Dagger Boomerang. So overall, she is definitely a strong enough healer to get you by all the current content that we have, as well as much of the upcoming content. But as far as how good is she in combining the two roles of restoring HP and doing something else, her kit is built such that it's mutually exclusive, and the rest of her support kit, it doesn't really get behind it. So in my opinion, this is why she's going to be ranked last among healers, but it is because she adds extra things. So like it's not to discredit what she offers at all, because having a healer that can Tornado and Quake will definitely come in handy for certain fights. I'm just saying that I find it more useful overall to have more support than to have damage abilities. So that's just my take on Rem, and it's going to be a similar assessment for Yuna. So I only have 6-star Yuna, which makes me sad because I would love her 7-star and I would use it like crazy. One of the things that I think she has that helps edge her out over Rem is the fact that she can dual cast her re-raise, so she is able to help keep the team stable with some re-raises and some healing at the same time. She has these nice bar spells that you can use whenever, and aside from that, she does suffer from the same problem that Rem does, which is that you can either heal or you can fill the Esper bar and deal damage. You cannot do both in the same turn, except for with one of her 7-star cooldown skills, which we don't have here on my character to feature right now. So for that reason, I say she's probably a hair better than Rem, simply because she does have the ability to cast re-raise with her heals, and other than that, it's basically just choosing, okay, do I want someone who can do some chaining or finishing, or do I want somebody who can do some Esper damage? And that's basically the difference between Yuna and Rem in that regard. Otherwise, they're pretty comparable in terms of overall power and utility. So for them, I would probably rank them at the bottom as far as, you know, filling out your healer role. They are absolutely competent and strong healers. They can get you through all the current content in the game. No problems there. I simply think that they offer less in their kit overall than some of the other healers. And guys, I'm going to remind you right now before we continue to move on. This video is an opinion video. This is my opinions are reflected based on how much I actually use the units that are in this review. So, you know, I'm not saying that any units are bad simply because they're not number one. I'm saying that there are certain advantages that units have that make me, a player, you know, choose that unit over other units. And so, you know, for those reasons, I rarely touch Rem. Yuna, unfortunately, I still have as a 6-star, so there's not a lot I can do with her. But that being said, they're both great units. They can both get you by. Not a problem there. Now, the next 3 healers I personally assess at a similar level of power. We have Lotus Mage Fina, Eiko, and Ayaka. And I have ranked them based on how much I use them in this situation. So Lotus Mage Fina is who I probably use the least out of the 3. But that being said, she does have a lot to offer. So she does have the dual cast re-raise as well as the Curaja, which is great. That's basically standard fare. And her support kit is very broad, but it's not super specialized, I don't think. So she has Entrust, which is a major plus. I love Entrust. I use it like crazy. It's an integral part of many of the strategies that I use. So highly valuable skill, especially when you don't necessarily need her Limit Burst to keep up the re-raises that you may need in a particular fight. She has some damage options, she has some set assailment removement options, a lot of that still standard fare. Her Manitopia is a good MP restore ability, so that's something that she has above some of the other the other healers. She also has Divine Veil, which buffs elemental resistance. Now, a lot of the time you may want a lot more elemental resistance on your party than this. However, it's handy to have it in as part of her kit. Now, the new stuff she got at 7 stars is she got a self-re-raise AoE full life cooldown skill, which I personally don't see a lot of use for, because if you have to full life your entire party because they're all dead except for Fina, or because most of them are dead, there's a pretty solid chance that you're not going to be able to recover the fight. But of course, I have been able to clutch some of the most ridiculously like stacked odds fights against me using stuff like this, so it could definitely do the job. The more important one that she has is Eternal Light, which restores HP and it casts AoE re-raise on all allies. So this skill is amazing. It combines her Limit Burst with the ability to heal. Very strong, very useful ability. To have a button that you can press and put re-raise on an entire party, that's a pretty big deal to me. Like, I think that's great. But I honestly, if I'm being perfectly honest, I think her kit is a little bit. Actually, it's just fine. It's fine. I don't use it a lot. Mostly because I prefer Eiko and Ayaka, and this is just my preference here. We'll take a look at Eiko. Eiko's a really unique unit. In my opinion, she's number 1 amongst the summoners as well, because she has her little crypto performance, which is amazing. Restore HP for all allies and fill evocation gauge. If Yuna had a skill like this, she would have ranked better in my book. Because being able to do multiple things with one ability or with one skill, that's a big deal to me. So the fact that she can restore HP, and it is a lot of HP that she restores with this, and she can fill the evocation gauge, it's amazing. Plus, when she gets her enhancements, it makes it even stronger. The healing amount is pretty huge. She also gets the ability to buff LB fill rate. She can AoE full life, which is something she got at 7 stars. She can put a barrier on allies, which is interesting, but I wouldn't use a lot. Prayer of the Lost, though, I think is definitely a cooldown skill worth noting, because it removes all breaks, and it removes all imperils, which is something very unique. I can't recall many units that actually have this. And it removes Stop and Charm, and it throws up a barrier, and it fills the Evo gauge. So, tons of stuff, all in one ability. The only way it could be made better is if it actually healed, or if it removed status ailments, or did a little bit more. But honestly, this is really great because a lot of times you'll pass a threshold and you'll just get imperiled, or you will get broken. This allows you to counteract all of that and to just continue on with your life. So I think that one's great. And as a 7-star unit, she has the ability to restore MP with perform ups. I know how to say that. Anyways, because of that, being able to combine two things in a single roll, that's why I put Eiko first. She does have a lot of white magic. She can dual cast with the Holy Wand as well. She can do the single target break removal ones. She has Dispelga, Esunaga. She even has Curaga if you just need to remove like one break. Full Life, Raise. Like she has a ton of the white magic stuff you'd want anyways. Throw on the Holy Wand and she is good to go. So really excellent, robust kit. She brings a lot to the table, and the fact that she can heal and fill the Esper gauge at the same time, for me, it makes her one of the top healers in the game. Now, she's not going to heal as much as any of the other healers dual casting Curaja, but most of the time you're not going to need that much healing, and when her enhancements come out, she will be able to heal that amount and then some. So, oh, and the other thing worth mentioning is her Limit Burst, which is very, very nice. I'm a fan of it. It fills the summon gauge, restores HP, and it heals quite a lot. Like, I don't recall a time where it didn't full heal my party. Like, it heals a ton. And it also removes breaks. So having that break removal, super nice. The heal, super nice. The Evo gauge, super nice. All around, the fact that she combines the Esper gauge fill and the healing together so effortlessly, that's why for me she's great. She's number 2 of these 5. Now, the number 1 healer of these 5, because Folka, I'm gonna go ahead and just say that Folka ranks above them for now, just generally. But I will say that Ayaka, I use her like absolute crazy. I use her so much. Because her kit has so much to offer. She has a lot of the same sort of spells that you would expect in a White Mage kit. Curaja, Re-Raise, Dispelga, Esunaga, Full Life Curaga, you know, all of these, pretty standard. No break removal like Eiko, but then again, of all the people we looked at, Eiko is the only one who has it, and then Folka is the only other person on this list who has it as well. Now, Stop Detach is nice, not as good as it used to be with more prevalent stop buff and removal. Dedication, I think, is a really underrated skill, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you're going to need to heal a lot more than 4,000 HP, which is all this heals for, and it also fills MP, and it also fills limit gauge. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to need to heal a lot more than that. To which I say, no, I don't. No, I don't. There are not a lot of fights out there currently where you need a lot more than 4,000 HP heal. That goes for a lot of current content as well. Like, even in some of my clear videos of Venomous Vines, you'll see me use Ayaka, and you'll see me mostly use Dedication, because with a smart team build and some solid equipment, you can get around the need for intensive healing. So I think it's really great to give that LB every turn, to give that MP every turn. Very nice ability. Probably most helpful to new and mid-tier players, just because having a reliable mana battery is awesome. So one of the things that makes Ayaka super unique to me is the fact that she has 3 different barrier skills, and these are very good ones because I believe they give 3,000 HP, whereas many barrier skills only give 2,000. So first one, and probably my favorite one, is Elysium, which is a massive HP heal along with a barrier. She also has Resurgence, which is AoE full life, and another 3,000 HP barrier, and then Purify, which is a status ailment removal with a barrier as well. These are really handy for crossing thresholds. They can take the place of healing if your team doesn't need to be topped off. Very nice skills to have. More than anything else, I think the thing that gives Ayaka value is her LB, Angelic Feather, which For your reference, you only need to level to 25 to get the majority of your benefit from. Leveling beyond 25 only gives you the reduced LB crystal cost, which it does not reduce by much, so it's really not worth using beyond level 25. So this one is huge. Revive KO'd allies, restore HP, cure all status ailments, remove all breaks, and charm and stop. And when you have her TMR equipped, it also restores MP by a ton. So it may even be 100%. I forget. But basically, if you're looking at your MP bar and you're sweating because it's running out, just pop this and everybody's full again. So really strong LB. A lot of people say, well, okay, well, it takes 57 or whatever crystals to fill up. And I'm like, I know that. I know. But this is why we use Entrust in this game. It's to enable us to basically cheat. So yeah, I mean, I use Merc Ramza all the time. You can use CG Lid. You can use anybody who has Entrust. And it's worth it just to combo with Ayaka, because that Limit Burst is super fat and it can get you out of a tricky situation in a pinch. So I've just used Ayaka the most, even though I didn't actually pull her until later down the line. I had Lotus Mage Fina first, I had a Yuna before, I had a Rem before, and I used pretty much all of them before Ayaka except for Eiko, and man, I think that Limit Burst is awesome. So for that reason, I think that Ayaka is queen of the pre-Folka pack. That being said, these three in particular are just especially good. So in that healing and supporty role. So for them, I kind of rank them up here above the other ones. Now let's talk real quick about Folka and what she does that's unique. So mine's only 6-star because for any who were present for my stream, I only got one. But that's fine because 6-star Folka can fight with the big boys. She, as a 6-star unit, can contend with 7-star healers, which is a pretty impressive thing to be able to say. Her kit, under magic, she has pretty much everything that you need for a healer, in addition to having the break removal spells that she can dual cast. But there is one spell missing that actually aggravates me to no end, and it's Dispelga. She does not have Dispelga, which means that if you're doing a trial where you need to dispel against multiple targets, you gotta look somewhere else. She's not your girl. She's not gonna have you covered, and that's why for my Folka story mission challenge trial thing video, even though I had Folka, I didn't use her, and that was because I just needed that Dispelga to make my life easier. Lotus Mage Fina was a more sensible option for the party that I was running. So for that reason, it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference in terms of just helping your party out. So kind of a bummer she doesn't have it. However, everything else in her magic healing kit is great. More importantly, she has some very, very strong utility, and that's what allows her to contend with the other 7-star healers, even as a 6-star unit. So, most notably, she has Water Priestess's Prayer, which allows her to multicast most of her abilities, any of her non-spells, pretty much, which includes Water Screen, Deep Circle, Flowing Waters, Sobering Waters, Aqua Riser, Magic Healing, Blue Mirage, and I think that's about it. But the big thing that I would say this is pretty much the reason to pull for Folka is the fact that she can dual cast these two abilities, Flowing Waters and Sobering Waters, that together grant you 100% status ailment resistance and 100% break resistance for all allies, in addition to charm and stop. Yes, for 5 turns. So she's able to pop this, and it grants it to your team for 5 turns, and she only has to refresh it every 5 turns, which is fantastic. That's very good to roll that into like a single unit and a single kit, to have her in one move be able to do this. Most of the time it takes multiple units using different skills to accomplish that. So for that reason, I think she is a very, very strong utility unit, in addition to having everything that she needs to be a strong healer. Now, some of these other things are very handy to have. Magic Healing is a very good single target MP restore. I believe it's I think it's 210 MP for some of her LB crystals, which is awesome. Water Screen I've used a handful of times, which restores HP and MP for all allies, and that is an effect over time. So I would say that, like, super awesome that she has this. These two skills in particular to buff ailment and break resistance. But I think the major drawback, however, is if you need to rebuff these resistances and you need to heal at the same time, you're out of luck. And that's probably the biggest frustration that a lot of people may experience when trying to use Folka in certain content. Now, the thing, I will touch on something that a lot of people who play JP talk about, and some of their reasons why Folka is so important. Some of the bosses that have come out in the Japanese version of the game are able to reduce your resistance to status ailments, which means that even if you use one of these skills, or even if you use a ribbon, you're still able to be afflicted with status ailments. Now, if you combine a piece of equipment that makes you immune to status ailments, and you activate this skill to buff your resistance to it, they kind of cancel each other out, meaning that your party is still break and status ailment immune, even when they would normally be susceptible to those status ailments, if that makes sense. So that's why a lot of people are really fawning over Folka, because she provides that for you in the healer slot. Like I said, otherwise you may need to bring two separate units who can buff break and ailment resistance at the same time, so it is super handy to have. I will also touch on Folka's Limit Burst real quick. It's not that good, and the reason for that is because it restores HP for all allies, okay, fine, and it's a pretty strong HP restore. I think it's like 50% base, 100% maxed. Cures all status ailments, removes all breaks, and it removes Stop and Charm, and it boosts water resistance. Okay, that all sounds great, but remember those two skills we were just talking about? Okay, these two that allow us to buff resistance to ailments and breaks? Well, this Limit Burst, okay, so if we're being diligent and responsible and keeping that up, this Limit Burst gives us no benefit here for status ailments, and it gives us no benefit for breaks, it gives us no benefit for Stop and Charm removal, and it boosts water resistance. So basically it heals us and boosts our water resistance, which, you know, not worth leveling in my opinion. You're better off using Aria, the 4-star base healer, 6-star base max, or 6-star max. She can full heal your party with her level 1 LB, and she can boost your water resistance. So for that reason, I think this LB is very easy to pass on. One of the things worth mentioning is that Hero's Vow Water is an awesome TMR. So even if, you know, you're fond of your other healers, this TMR is a really handy one to get your hands on, because that MP and Spirit boost is really good for support units, but most importantly, it gives you 50% LB fill rate and some MP refresh. So this is honestly one of the better TMRs out there for support units in general, which makes Folka a very attractive option. So overall, Folka is great, absolutely worth pulling for if you don't have a 7-star healer, because she's going to enable your party to do a lot of things. Now, I do want to touch real quick on the 7-star healers to come, because if you're like, well, I'm in a pretty good spot with my healers, I don't think I need to pull, but I'm not 100% sure. Will I regret it later if I don't pull for Folka now? And my answer to that is, you might regret it because she's so pretty looking, but as far as your opportunities to get meta healers are concerned, and to cover the things that her kit covers, you're fine, because down the line, we're able to see from the JP version of the game, they received, and I'm using Sephiroth as a stand-in for Aerith, they received Aerith from FF7, and they received Warrior of Light Lena, or Light Warrior Lena, from FF, is that 1? I forget, I haven't played all the games, I'm a really bad fan. Anyways, they get those two healers who offer most of the same sorts of benefits as Folka does, just in different ways and in different skills. And they have some things about their kits that make you unique, and this video guide is not about them, but it is to point out that if you don't pull for a Folka now, you're going to be fine later. I promise you're going to have that opportunity to get Aerith or Lena, and you'll be just fine. They offer many of the same things that Folka does, and they do offer some unique things on their own as well. So for that reason, if you're already sitting there with some of these healers saying, oh, well, do I need a Folka? My answer is maybe not. Consider it. So we've basically given an overview of all of the units and kind of why I think some are better than others. I am going to talk about the worth it factor real quick, talking about Folka versus the other healers. In my opinion, if you have any of these 3 healers from Lotus Mage Fina, Eiko, or Ayaka, you do not need to pull for Folka. Because you just don't need to. And one of the things that's absolutely worth pointing out is that Folka is very strong at preventing things from happening to your party, preventing breaks and preventing status ailments, but she's very bad at removing them. And that's actually pretty frustrating for me because I don't always run in with a ribbon. I don't always run in with, any idea what's going on in the fight. I like to go in semi-blind. And so to not have the option of removing all status ailments, because she does have Esunaga, but remember that Esunaga doesn't remove all status ailments. It removes many of them, but it doesn't remove everything. But if you were to compare that to Lotus Mage Fina or Ayaka, these 2 units can remove any status ailments in the game and heal at the same time. So for me, that's a pretty big comparison. Folka is preventative. These healers are prescriptive, meaning that if you have Folka in your party, you're able to prevent things from happening to your party, which is usually superior. It's usually better to prevent it. And with these healers, you're able to cure it. You're able to remove your breaks or remove your status ailments or whatever. So minor comparison there. I think if you have Rem or Yuna as your main 7-star healer, as long as you're clearing content without any difficulty, then you don't have to pull on Folka. If you would prefer Aerith or Light Warrior Lena, you can wait for them. But otherwise, if you don't have a 7-star healer at all, Folka is definitely worth at least throwing some tickets at. That 11k step-up banner you can try your luck on. If you're lucky, you may walk away. Well, and all you need is one, which is actually a huge deal. As it stands in the game right now, there are not a lot of 5-star base units that are going to come out where you can just get by with only the 5-star base, 6-star max form. For many of the units that are coming down the pipe, you need someone at 7 stars, which means you have to pull 2 of them. With Folka, that's not the case, meaning that she's a much easier investment to get your full value out of. So, for me, it was kind of an easy choice to pull for her because it gave me that option of, okay, do I want to prevent breaks and status ailments? Okay, if that's the case, I'm going to take Folka. If I don't, or if I don't care, then I have the option of taking another healer. So, I know a lot of people talk about Folka as though she's the end-all be-all of healers. Some people have very aggressively tried to tell me on Reddit that Folka was basically necessary for upcoming content, and I'm sorry, that's not the case. I feel like I get that sort of thing from a lot of JP players, and to them I have to say, you know what, just get good, dude. Like, learn the game, okay? This game does not build fights around requiring certain units, and that will always be the case. Certain units excel in fights, and that has also always been the case. And there will be many fights where Folka is super impactful, super strong. And you'll be super glad you have her, but as far as is she absolutely necessary, the answer is no. The other reason I really believe that to be the case is because I think healers are the least important role in the entire game. And that's because, and that's why they have to have really strong support kits, because there are so many sources of HP restore. Like, if you know a fight well enough, you can just take regens off of bards, or you can do mechanical heart, or you can do all sorts of things. You can even use items, or you can use Zargaboth. Like, if you're in a fight where all of the damage is being diverted through your tanks and you don't need party healing, Zargaboth's single target healing with rejuvenation is perfect. You don't actually need a healer. So that's where in my opinion healers are kind of the least necessary role. So if you're feeling pressured from other people like, oh, I gotta get a Folka, or Folka is necessary for this or that, just put it aside. Know that, you can clear all of the current content with 3-star base Roselia without any issues, and many of the upcoming content that may still continue to be true. So don't sweat it. Enjoy the game. Pull a unit because you like it. You know how it goes with me on this channel. You want to go for the stuff that you love. And with that, I love Folka, I love Ayaka, and I love Eiko. They're my personal top 3. Lotus Mage Fina, of course, is great, as are Yuna and Rem. They just fill kind of a different spot for me. So with that, we're going to conclude this ranking video. Let me know in the comments below, am I off my rocker? Did I miss the mark? Am I wrong? You can tell me, because you know what, this is an opinion piece. Again, just because a unit isn't number 1 on the list doesn't mean that they are bad or unusable. It just means that for me, I don't use them as much. But hopefully you can get a ton of use out of them for yourself. And yeah, let me know what you would like to see in the next video, and I will see everybody there.